Oh, I thought the host has control over mute and unmute.
Right. Good evening. Can anyone hear me?
I can.
Okay. How's everyone?
Good.
Alexa, stop.
Can you hear me, Sam? Can you hear me, Vicky?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Hey, Tony. I see you mute.
Tony's is muted.
Hey, Mr. Nelson.
How are you? I can hear you. How's everybody?
I'm good. How you doing today?
I'm doing tremendous.
Wonderful.
Yes, ma'am. Nice picture, Miss Karen.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
I should have combed my hair, but I did not.
Okay. Hi, Vicky.
Hey.
What's up? Hey, how you doing, Tony?
So we have a quorum.
You're muted, Tony.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hey.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, I'm here.
Hey, Tony.
Hey, Tony.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey. What's up, Mr. Evans?
Nothing much, man. I got this iPhone. It's driving me crazy, dog. I'm
iPhone.
like, oh my God, I'm an Android, man. I got to figure it out all over again.
Tell your daughter to help you.
Hey, she's had an iPhone all her life, and she just come down and do something, and then she gone. And I'm like, what you just do?
Hey, Tony, you may need to adjust your camera going down.
Yeah, I know, man. I see the top of my head.
Yeah, it's shining too.
Yeah, it is, man. I just had a haircut.
Whoa.
Hey, I can't talk. Mine is shining too.
Shiny star.
No,
Hey.
Here we go.
What's Sam at? I don't see Sam.
I saw his name.
I see you, Sam. Hey, Sam, I see you.
Can you hear me?
I see Kiana.
Yeah, we can. I can hear you.
Yeah, I can see you. Like with a Brady Bunch with these squares.
Is everybody here? I think we can start now, can we?
Yep.
Okay. Can I get a roll call vote? Councilman Soxenheimer?
You're on mute,
You're
Steve.
still muted.
Unmute. Unmute.
We can.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay.
Councilwoman Cleveland,
Here.
Councilman Jackson. Oh, I don't see him on. Councilman Evans.
Sure.
Councilwoman Shivers.
Here.
Councilman Nelson,
Present?
Councilwoman Campbell.
Here.
And Councilwoman Bayet.
here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with
Liberty and
justice for all.
for all.
Can I get a motion to approve the agenda? I make a motion.
Move.
Gotta get a second.
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 All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, number 4. So I got a phone call on Wednesday, where Kevin Jackson, who's the second council member for Ward 2. Unfortunately, he's ill and unable to maintain his position, so he has resigned from the council. So in order to make sure that the second ward continues to have full representation and keep those the 2 votes, I wanted to recommend Tony Washington to his seat. So Tony Washington, who's not on, he's actually in Puerto Rico. He would serve from now, if we approve, to April, in Kevin's seat. So I'd like to make a motion to approve Tony Washington for.
Pro Tem, if I may.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
First, the first thing that needs to happen is there needs to be a motion from the council to accept the resignation and declare
okay.
the seat vacant.
So move.
Second.
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. What's the next thing, Andy?
Now, you would appoint Tony Washington to fill the vacated seat for Ward 2 council member. And then there would need to be a motion to approve that appointment and a second, and then a voice vote.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve,
I'm sorry, as the mayor, you actually, I mean, everyone knows who you're nominating. So since you're the one appointing though, as the mayor, normally I would say that you can make the motion, but maybe it ought to be 2 other people since you're kind of executing both roles here.
okay,
I'll make a motion, Rick Nelson.
I'll second. Can I get a roll call vote?
Councilman Sachsenhauer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cleveland,
Yes.
Councilman Evans,
Yes.
Councilwoman Shivers,
Yes.
Councilman Nelson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Campbell,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bayet.
Yes.
Motion approved. So please keep Kevin in your prayers as he gets better. So hopefully he'll be better soon. We're on B, citizen comments. Do we have any citizen comments in the chat, Kiana?
I don't see that anyone has dropped their name or address in the chat.
There's
There's one there.
In the chat.
Oh,
I
that's
see
you.
people
Oh, that's you.
online, but I don't see that anyone has dropped their name in the chat as they have been invited to do.
Okay.
Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
All in
Second.
favor? Oh, okay. All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. D, report of officers. So, if you have not already, just as a reminder, the RSVP for the city holiday party is Friday or Thursday. Kiana, can you help me out with the date?
Friday by the end of the day, please.
Friday by the end of the day. The city, if you plan on coming, the city pays for anyone who's on a board or commission and council members and employees, and then additional people are $20. So just please give your name to Kiana and let her know. In addition to that, today we had the SWT was at City Hall to give their presentation for Parkchester Park, and we're finalizing plans. So people were supposed to give their top 2 choices, which vary from pavilions to fitness area and everything. There is a QR code that you can fill out if you weren't able to make it to give your opinion. And also there's a paper copy if you'd rather do it on paper. So if you weren't able to make it, please, give your input and let your constituents know that we're finalizing those plans. I did want to say thank you to Public Works for the great job that they did with the leaves and the snow. And if you have not been to City Hall, Chief Sanders did a really good job of putting up the decoration in City Hall, and also Dennis outside. They look really nice. So and the wreath looks great, Dennis. Thanks for getting that up too. So we have a few additional dates for the leaf pickup. So barring any snow, just remember, if people do ask you about leaf pickup, the leaves cannot be picked up if they're wet. So that the weather does play a factor because they're too heavy. So if there's a snow day or snow on the leaves, we're gonna have to wait until they kind of dry out. But just please let people know that if they ask. So council members, any reports? Let's start with Steve. Anything?
No, I'm good. I have nothing to report.
Something to remember.
Ms. Karen?
I don't have anything. Steve, did I say something to you earlier about something?
No.
Okay, well, I don't have anything because I don't remember.
Tony?
Nothing here.
Councilwoman Shivers?
Not at this time. I would like to say I can't see Steve.
Where is he at?
Sorry, my computer slipped. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
So many squares.
Excuse me.
Councilman Nelson?
Yeah, we had a very nice chess tournament at the high school, actually 2 of them, and for October, November, and they had a really good time. The board was really excited about it. Channel 2 and Channel 5 covered it, and it was a great event, and looking forward to having it next year also. So that's all I have to report. Thank you very much.
Great. That's great. Councilwoman Valley?
No, I don't have any report.
Number 3, Sam, City Administrator.
Oh, boy.
Hi, so for my report, I just kind of wanted to give an update on some of the park items. Some of you were just here, but we just had our second public engagement event for the Parkchester Park Master Plan process. And we do have a final draft for the plan concept, which will pretty much be the guiding document for plans in the future. And we're already looking at some grant opportunities. So right now, they're putting a second survey out that people are encouraged to participate in. And then the Parks Board is going to be doing their Normandy Night at UMSL event on January 17th from 4 to 8 p.m. And you can go up to the UMSL Recreation Center. And if you're a Normandy resident, admission is free. There's going to have some concessions there, crafts and games going on. And also at that event, there'll be an additional opportunity to participate in the planning process. After that's done, SWT will wrap up and present a final master plan. Right now, we're looking at the February council meeting. For it, and there'll be a public hearing, and then you guys will actually vote to accept the master plan. And then we can start working on applying for grants in 2025 to get the ball rolling. On another note, our audit is going to be on site in January in 2024. Not expecting any issues there, and that's going to be on time for them to come out in January. And then this is something we can talk about in January a little more, but now that we do have the citizen survey results back, I'm going to be seeking some quotes from some third-party consultants to kind of help with the strategic planning process and maybe host a council retreat or a planning session to and help us get the 5-year strategic plan put together. It's very common for cities to get a third party to kind of come in and mediate and help guide people through and get that outside perspective. So that is my report.
Thank you. Is Mr. Ellis here?
And I apologize. So on the financial report, because of the holiday and some vacation schedules, we do not have October 2024 financials for you this month. We will have October and November in January. I apologize for the delay. So told Charles that, and he said, and there is no reason for him to come to the meeting.
So in January, we'll have both of those?
Yes, you'll have 2 months.
Thank you. Old business. Council Bill number 24-20, an ordinance of the city of Normandy, Missouri, amending chapter 110 of the Normandy Code of Ordinances regarding the city council attendance policy. So the only thing that's adjusting here is the time restraint that we have in the old council bill. Can I get a motion for discussion?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments about this?
I have a question. What did you mean by time restraint? Like you just
So the old one, you had to be there right at 6:30 when we started. And even if you were 1 minute late walking in, even though you stayed the entire time, you were still counted as absent.
Right.
So this one will eliminate the time restraint, and you still allow for the 2 absences. Sorry, 2 absences. So, just for emergencies and things like that. But the time restraint is just gone.
So you could just, I'm just asking, so you can just walk in anytime? If you come in at 7:30 and half the meetings, most of the meetings over with, you still get paid?
Well, that's what we're talking about. So if you guys if anybody wants to make a motion to adjust it, so right now. What page is this?
Well, I like the way it's being revised, because here's my thing. If you're late, okay, you're basically counted as absent, which I was, but I voted the whole night. So in actuality, should my vote have counted?
Okay, you were counted absent.
That's a question for you, Andy. If I was counted absent, should my vote have counted? If I was
the declaration of absence really has more to do with whether or not you're going to get paid, right? If you were present and voting at a meeting, then your vote counts, right?
No, I was absent.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but no, I don't think I'm not worried about your vote,
but
not being counted towards the approval of an ordinance. I will say this: with removing the language which essentially declares someone absent if they are not here they're not present from the very beginning of a meeting to the very end of a meeting, there's necessarily going to be a little bit of discretion in the administration, in the enforcement of this ordinance. You know, if it becomes an issue, that it's becoming difficult to enforce and exercise that discretion, then we can, you know, reassess this again and come up with some other options, right? Or perhaps there could be there could be alternative language that someone has to be present for, off the top of my head, half of the entirety of a meeting, right? So if the meeting goes from 6:30 to 9:30, then someone needs to be present for an hour and a half to be considered present for payment purposes. But I'm not necessarily recommending making that change. It's just an example of one that could be made if you're concerned about it.
So if you want to make a motion to change the time restraint, or to say like a 15-minute grace period, would that be something, Andy, that we could do?
Absolutely.
So like if you want to say, okay, so if our meeting starts at 6:30 and then we say there's a 15 or 20-minute grace period so in that window, we could do it like that. Councilwoman Cleveland, like that's an option. Or we could say the person needs to be there by the start of what would be like the voting stuff, report of officers or old business. Like we would have to come up with some, if you wanted to include that or do it in that way.
I'm just thinking if you come and we're almost done, I mean, what's the point of coming other than just to get paid?
Well, I would say make myself a 30-minute, 30 minutes, you know, because that's a half hour. So,
right.
You know,
I would say 30 minutes, and I think that might be reasonable.
Right.
I mean, I don't want everybody to start coming in just because, you know, hey, I'm going to get paid. I'm just going to walk in the door and I get paid. But the meeting's almost over with. I mean, so right now I don't know what time it is now, but we're on.
Now it's 6:45.
So it's 6:45 and we're talking a lot of stuff already. So you kind of missed a lot of things, but I'll go with the majority, what you guys think. So I think maybe 30 minutes should be. Yeah.
I don't think anybody is excessive. I usually people are there. Yeah. And like if we do call, they'll say I'm 10 minutes away, or I feel like to get to City Hall from anywhere in Normandy is probably like 5 minutes, maybe walking in with another couple or whatever. So it just depends on if somebody wants to make a motion for a time restraint, a grace period.
We could just take the grace period out and just whenever they get there, because again, people are running late just because something has happened and it's unavoidable. Some people just getting out for work. It's unavoidable, and they maybe had to work overtime. So we can take it off. I mean, just
how about 15 minutes grace period from the start of the meeting? So that would be from like roll call vote, and then you get a 15-minute grace. But sometimes if we don't have everybody there, sometimes you still get longer than that, because sometimes it's like 6:35, which when we actually start, and then you still get a 15-minute grace period. And everything. I think that's still enough time for people to, if they're running late or traffic or at the circle or whatever.
Yeah.
What about leaving early?
So do we want to add that you have to stay? This one's, you have to stay the entire. No, that was taken out.
If somebody gets angry about something and just walks out of the meeting, do they still get paid?
That was taken out.
Okay.
No, so we could add, now workshops do not, this does not apply to workshops.
Right.
This is just a regular meeting, just so everyone's aware, and special meetings. So Sam, for closed session meetings, That was, I don't see it.
Yeah, so,
Is that gone?
so it only
We
applies to
took that
regular
clause out.
meetings.
Yeah, it's gone.
Okay, so here's my issue. If we know that we're having a closed session meeting and people leave and we don't have a quorum, so we can't act on whatever was going on, that becomes problematic. If
So,
their leaving ends the quorum and therefore everybody else has got to not go to the closed session and we can't discuss anything, and that can be a problem.
Yeah.
so do we want to do a 15-minute grace? And then you have to stay through the entirety of the meeting, including closed session? Including the conclusion of the closed session?
This is,
If we should
Sugar.
have one.
I'd like to make a statement, please.
I'll recognize you in 1 minute. Is that something, Councilwoman Valier, that you,
Yeah, I mean,
that
it's
sound good?
fine. It's a question is on the floor is if somebody leaves and then we don't have a quorum to continue business.
Right.
And sometimes that's a strategy. It can be. And so we need to be careful and mindful of that.
So would it be must stay the entirety of the meeting, including to the conclusion of the closed session?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Go ahead, Councilwoman Shivers.
I would like to say 30 minutes for arrival. Coming in from 270 West County, South County, that 64 and 270 can be a hit and miss. So I would like to go along with Councilman Evans on 30 minutes.
So your vote is for 30 minutes?
Correct. And then on leaving early, it just depends on the circumstances. It may be relevant to leave early rather than to get into a heated argument, or I'm just saying. So I don't agree with the leaving early.
You mean the not being allowed to leave early?
Correct.
Okay.
Not that, circumstances like that happen, but if it does happen, I think it should be a clause in there stating that if it's a situation to stop a heating argument, or not a physical fight, but a verbal fight, you're allowed to leave.
Okay.
I disagree with that. I mean, we are all adults. We all are here to do business. And when one person can leave a meeting and shut it down, essentially, it's not fair to the rest of us who are willing to stay there and work things through.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was just my opinion. So
I was just stating my opinion.
Okay.
Is this something that maybe we want to take to, because we've been talking about this now, I think for like four minutes or so. Maybe it's a little bit more detailed. So maybe we should take this to the workshop to kind of hammer it out.
Sounds fine to me.
Sounds good. Can I make a motion to take Council Bill number 24-20 to a workshop? What's the workshop in January, Sam?
February, isn't it?
No,
It's in January.
January.
The 23rd.
January 23rd workshop.
Mm-hmm.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I oppose.
Ayes have it.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll talk about it January 23rd. And then just come with like ideas and everything that you may have, suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
And look, and maybe like time or agenda item or what a grace period would be. Number 2, Council Bill number 24-21. Ordinance of the City of Normandy, Missouri, amending Chapter 355 of the City of Normandy Code of Ordinances regarding traffic expectations. So this is the parking for handicap placards that we have or signs. Sam, do you want to give some background on this one? Let's refresh everybody's memory.
Sure. So for some time, as a matter of practice, we have had residents request that they have an ADA space put into public street parking in their house. Maybe their driveway situation is too steep for their disability. And the council has granted some of these in the past. However, we've never had an ordinance actually guiding the process. And we had Andy do some research. And this is something that cities do offer to make sure that they're in compliance with the Americans with Disability Act. So essentially what this does is it puts into the traffic code a process for someone to apply for physically disabled parking along the street. And they do have to, prove that they are disabled. They have to have a handicap placard or license plate. And then the location for the public street has to be approved by the Director of Public Works. Then there's a small permit fee that they have to pay to cover the purchase of the sign, and the payment's $100. And then the permit needs to be renewed every year, except for there is no additional fee as long as the sign stays up. So just to be clear, this isn't something, these aren't permits that would go in front of the city council. This would just be something that we do up here at City Hall. And the regulations are laid out in the ordinance. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer on that.
I have a question. So if a person has a driveway, they still need the placard. I mean, they have to have a sign in front of their house. I'm not understanding that.
Yeah, so if they don't have a driveway, then they would be eligible, or if their driveway does not accommodate their disability. Is that right, Andy?
So correct, if their driveway is not, if they don't have a driveway, or for whatever reason their driveway is not usable, right, then the ADA requires the city to make accommodations to allow street parking directly in front of their property.
Okay.
Right. So if someone has a very steep driveway, or they have to climb stairs to get to their door, where maybe they don't with street parking, would be a scenario.
Just for everyone's edification, the ADA is even a little broader than that, right? So for example, I mean, it can override any number of local ordinances. So for example, if somebody it uses a wheelchair and they have to install some sort of a ramp system, that the installation of which would violate a setback in the zoning code, right? They don't have to get a variance. They just let the city know that they're going to do it. And, the city might want to issue a variance for, recording purposes, but the ADA is going to trump a reasonable accommodation. That's the key. A reasonable accommodation is going to trump a local ordinance. And this is just a narrower issue of that broader jurisdiction.
So who makes a determination whether they can get approved or not? Is that the City of Normandy? Is that Public Works, or who does that?
So under this ordinance, it would be the Director of Public Works, right? An application would be made, and then the
in
Director of
Section
Public.
B, it goes through the.
Correct. Thank you, Pro Tem.
Yeah, let me give you an example of that. I have a parking pad, which I can easily park in. However, when I broke my ankle and couldn't walk. The only way to get me in and out of the house was up and down my stone steps on the outside of my house because I couldn't negotiate the inside stairs. So for a brief period of time, I had a handicap spot in front of my house that would allow me and whoever was trying to get me in here to get up those front steps. I mean, it's not an issue now. So there can be any number of things, whether the person is wheelchair bound, whether their house doesn't accommodate them, and whether it's going to be a long-term or a temporary thing too.
Okay. Thank you. Can you, Andy, where it says resident, does that include renters, homeowners, or just anybody, if you just live in the city of Normandy?
Someone who resides in the city of Normandy.
And then what about
Homeowners, renters, right? So yes, if someone is renting an apartment and for whatever reason they don't have reasonable access to their unit, then they may qualify for this, right? Now, one other thing is because Councilwoman Valle mentioned sometimes people have temporary reasons that they might need this sort of access. So these permits, they're only good for the calendar year, right? So they have to be renewed every year. So there is an ability to exercise a little control over that. So we don't have unlikely we're going to have a proliferation of, these spots all over the city. But and one other thing, they can't be limited to the person who applies for them, right? Basically, the applicant applies for this permit, but it's really what it is a sign that goes in front of let's say in the front of their house, and then that has to be accessible to any person who can legally use it, right?
Can we require, so like one thing that I didn't see, I don't even know if this is a thing, like an occupancy permit on file? Is that on here?
You have
I mean,
any
that's
resident.
required anyway. I mean, everyone's required to have an
I
occupancy.
can't hear you. What'd you say, Sam? Sorry.
Everyone is required to have an occupancy permit, so it doesn't really need to be included here because it's already required.
Right. If someone applies and we're like, you don't have an occupancy permit, what's going on, right? I mean,
So we don't need to add it?
it'll be addressed, right?
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
they'll need to get one of those as well, right? It'll just be an opportunity to make sure everything that needs to be addressed is addressed, right? But it doesn't need to be in here as as Sam said, it's implied. It doesn't need to be specifically addressed in here as a bar to obtaining a placard.
And then what about like it says current state license plate. Does that mean taxes are paid? Does that mean a valid one? Is valid the same as current?
Say valid is the same as current. That's how I would interpret that.
Okay.
Can I ask, do they have to have a Missouri license plate or would an Illinois license plate do in this circumstance?
Drafted, I think, a current state, just a current plate. I don't think it would have to necessarily be a Missouri plate. You may have somebody who's residing in Normandy for an extended period of time that has a valid plate from another state for whatever reason, especially if they otherwise be qualified for a reasonable accommodation under the ADA. I would be hesitant to advise the city to deny a placard based solely on not having a valid Missouri plate.
Okay.
As long as they have a valid plate, I mean, that's really what we want, right? Valid plates.
Yeah, I'm just asking.
So, yeah.
I would like to ask Andy, what if the resident is leasing or renting? Is it the obligation of the person that's leasing or the landlord?
I think it could be either way. The way the code is drafted, it says the resident, in subsection BA, the person owning or leasing a motor vehicle that does not have access to a driveway or off-street parking space, right? So in my mind, it would be the tenant, but I don't think there would be any reason why a landlord could not reach out to the city and say, I have a tenant who is, needs accommodations. It's not like the city is going to say, well, they need to come up here, right? Because who knows what their mobility issues might be. Maybe for some reason getting up here might be difficult as well. So
But they already need to be certified by somebody that there is indeed a disability, because
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
So
Yes, and
whatever
that is written into the code.
whatever your paperwork is from the state, whatever state that might be, would have to be valid for that. It's tied to the human being or somebody who transports that human being.
So let me get this definition, Andy. This question is to you. So if the individual already has a handicap placard from the state of Missouri, then they have to get a second permit from the city of Normandy.
Not a permit, right? It's not a, so the city of Normandy, for example, already has disabled parking in various places. I think that I'm sure the library does, right? I know City Hall does. It's not that they need a separate permit to utilize those spaces. It's that somebody living on, someone may not have, most people are not going to have disabled parking directly in front of their residence, right? It's not something you usually see on the street. So this would be to get that parking space on the street in front of their house that they could then use just like any other handicap parking space.
Oh, okay. I understand. Thank you.
Now that is for in front of the person's house that needs this, right? It can't be a neighbor's house, right?
What, right? I mean,
I would say, depending on the topography, it could. I mean, it's wherever the space accommodates. So
Right.
generally, I would say that would be in front of the person's house. But if something about the slope, I couldn't rule out that there would be a scenario where it would maybe be closer to someone else's house. But it's the only place that accommodates.
the city would need to address that and on a case-by-case basis.
Well,
I got it. Thank you.
I'd like to add something, please. I think we already have something like that in place. I have a residence on Nokomis, one on Waco, and we had college students like on Springdale. They used to park in front of people's house, and there's a resident that has a handicap sticker, and they were parking in front of her house. So there were signs. We talked to Rodney about that. There were signs that they can apply for to put in front of their house to keep people from parking in front of their house on Waco as well as the Comas in the past. So we're reinventing the wheel, but I think we have that in place. I think, Tony, you should know that, right? I mean, Rodney had that for years. So what happened?
Yeah, so I think
Well,
I
Sam can
answer
speak to that. Yeah. Sam, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think I'd start out with, the city has not had an ordinance for this, but it has been something that the city has been doing in the Public Works Department, had been doing for the past few decades. And this ordinance just codifies the process. Because before, it was just they came up to City Hall and then it just went to the city council. There was no criteria set out for approval or denial. And it was just kind of the whim of the council to say yes or no. This sets out a process. So yes, you are right. There have been ones issued in the past.
Okay,
I
so
believe the
what,
process that we had was, it was an application that was made up by Rodney, but this, kind of like what Sam said, it gives more guidelines and everything, and it's not really something also like Andy said, the ADA is going to trump anything that we do anyway. So if we have guidelines for this and ordinance, that's a much better process.
okay, well, just as long as it works for the citizens, so that's the main thing.
Can I get a motion to adopt?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Can I get a
Second,
second?
second.
Did we get a motion for second reading?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't believe we actually got the
I
reading.
thought I did. I thought I did that at the beginning before we did. the
There was
discussion.
there was a motion to discuss.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
Um,
oh, a motion, wait. Where is
I
my-
moved that we go to the second reading on the, what's the number?
Council, which one is it? Am I on number 2?
420.
Yeah, can I get a motion for a second reading of Council Bill number 24-21?
Motion.
Can
Second.
I get a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to adopt Council Bill number 24-21?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
We need a roll call for that, please.
What'd you say?
Oh, we need a roll call.
Oh, can I get a roll call vote?
Councilman Sachsenheimer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cleveland,
Yes.
Councilman Evans,
Yes.
Councilwoman Shivers,
Yes.
Councilman Nelson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Campbell,
Yes.
Councilwoman Baye.
Yes.
Number 3, Council Bill number 24-22. Can I get a motion for,
Mayor,
A motion
if
for a
I
sec-
may, Mayor, if I
Oh,
may,
go
before we
ahead.
do that. You know, if you wanted to just, when we actually move to the item on the agenda, you could read the, you know, that would be an appropriate time to actually read the title of the ordinance. That way we get the second reading, it happens, right? You could ask for a motion to approve that second reading or accept that second reading. And after the second is made before the vote, that would be a perfect time to discuss, right?
Discussion,
Or,
okay.
but that way the reading is just done. We don't have to have a motion to
Another
have the
one.
reading. It just kind of maybe streamlines it a little bit.
Okay, can I get a motion for a second reading of Council Bill number 24-22?
So moved.
Uh,
I'll second.
Council Bill number 24-22. This is the mixed use ordinance. Sam, do you want to talk about this from planning and zoning? Is this-
We do need the actual reading.
Oh,
Yeah, just read.
can I just read the title? I have to read the entire thing?
Read the title. Did you read it? Did I?
Yeah, I read it.
I'm
Council
sorry.
Bill,
Oh,
I think I missed it if you did. If you just want to read it again, just to be sure.
Council Bill number 24-22.
An ordinance of
need
the
to-
city of Normandy, Missouri.
I need to,
Everything
that's
in-
what I'm saying. Can I
Yes,
just read
yes,
the
the
title?
capital, the actual
Okay,
title
an
of the ordinance.
An
Yeah.
ordinance of the city of Normandy, Missouri, rezoning certain parcels to MU mixed use and directing that the official zoning map of the city of Normandy be amended to reflect such change. Go ahead, Sam.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so this is an ordinance that rezones several parcels along Natural Bridge Road mostly, as well as a few other ones to the mixed-use zoning district. We had the maps out at the last meeting. There was an amendment which has been effected in this copy to remove 2 parcels on St. Anne's Lane. So those are no longer included, but everything else should be the same from the last reading. And basically this,
He goes to bed in 15.
all the addresses that are included in here in the parcels, this changes the zoning district to one that is generally has a few less restrictions and allows owners, current tenants, and potential developers to do more with the property. Most notably, the most notable change being that they can have residential on the second or potential third floor of a property, which is currently not allowed in the F district.
Any comments, questions? All right, can I get a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Call.
Oh, wait,
Aye.
roll call vote, sorry. Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Sachsenheimer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cleveland,
Yes.
Councilman Evans,
Yes.
Just let it.
Councilwoman Shivers,
Yes.
Councilman Nelson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Campbell,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fahey.
Yes.
Ordinance number 823.
Hold on, I'm sorry. 823.
Table to be approved.
All right, can I get a motion for a second reading of Council Bill number 24-23?
So moved.
Second. Did I get a second?
Second.
Council Bill number 24-23. An ordinance of the city of Normandy, Missouri, amending chapter 405, article 14, section 405-795, initiation of change, reference to and report of zoning and planning commission, public hearing by altering the time within which the planning and zoning commission must deliver recommendations and report to the city council. Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, so this is a pretty simple text change to our zoning code. It simply changes the amount of days that the Planning and Zoning Commission has to render a decision to the city council. I believe right now it is 30 days. It would change it to 120 days. And if they don't render a recommendation in 120 days, the city council can just take it up as if they had, I believe, approved it. So pretty simple and not very controversial in my opinion.
Any comments, questions about this one? All right, can I get a motion to adopt Council Bill number 24-23?
So moved.
Second, can I get a roll call vote?
Councilman Sachsenheimer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cleveland,
Yes.
Councilman Evans,
Yes.
Councilwoman Shivers,
Yes.
Councilman Nelson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Campbell,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fahey.
Yes.
Ordinance number 824.
New business. Council Bill number 24-24. An ordinance of the city of Normandy, Missouri, amending chapter 220, sections 220.055 and 220.080 of the city code of ordinances regarding abatement nuisances, including weeds. This is a big one. Can I get a motion for discussion?
So moved.
Second.
Sam, what page is this one? This one's redlined, right? This is the one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
so this one, can you correct me if I'm wrong, Sam? This one gives owners 10 days. It gives them a little bit longer to abate the nuisances.
Yeah, I
Right.
guess I'll start with the genesis of this ordinance is Andy had done some research for his clients regarding just making sure that our nuisance code is compliant with state statute, and he had a few recommendations to update a few things, and I'll let him answer any questions about what those are.
If the council wouldn't mind, I can just run through some of the changes here. As the prefatory clauses note, the city's authority to abate nuisances comes from state statute, right? So whether we're abating general nuisances or the more specific nuisances described in the overgrown grass and weeds statute, we have to make sure that what we're doing complies with the grant of authority from the legislature. So, for example, when it comes to just like kind of your run-of-the-mill nuisances, cut fallen trees, dead trees, rubbish, that kind of, tires, things like that. The code had been requiring only 7 days notice, but the statute actually requires 10 days notice. So we didn't want to get in a situation where the city gave somebody 7 days notice and then on day 8 went and cleared out their junk, and lo and behold, we were supposed to give them 10 days notice. Likewise, there were some requirements that I think were overburdensome on the city. For example, the city was requiring notice be sent by actual certified mail, whereas the statute only requires notice by first-class mail. So that saves the city a little bit of cost too, and still complies with the statute. The other changes are if the property is not occupied by the owner, that in addition to giving notice to the owner, we have to give notice to the occupant as well, that they need to clean up their mess or we're going to do it for them. And when it comes to weeds and grass, just a few minor housekeeping items relating to, well, maybe this does require kind of a little bit of background, but basically when somebody's grass is too long, the city has the authority to send them one notice, give them 5 days to clean it up. And if they don't, then we don't have to have a hearing like we do with other nuisances, like a dead tree or something. The city can just go on and mow the lawn. And for that entire growing season, so from whenever grass starts growing after the winter to the first freeze when it stops growing, if that grass continues to grow too long, the city doesn't have to continue sending notices. The city can just continue mowing that lawn and sending a tax bill, without having to go through the rigmarole of mailing things. So I just wanted to make sure that we more closely hewed to the statutory language. And likewise, the statute really requires the property owner to manage that. There was some language in our code about the tenant, but I don't think it's authorized by statute to do that. It's the owner only. So these are very minor changes. This is not really changing much in the way of process, extending the notice time a little bit, making it a little easier to mail notices out. Otherwise, things pretty much are going to be done as they've always been done. So are there any specific questions?
I have a question.
Yes, Sandy, I have a question.
I got 2 questions. Who wants to go
Councilwoman
first?
Cleveland first. Okay. My question is, so in Ward 1, we have a lot of renters here. So it's gonna go, so what, I know you guys have problems, and I thought I heard Sam say this before, the LLCs are kind of hard to contact. Is that correct, Sam? I'm not really sure.
They can be. It doesn't mean that it's impossible. Some take more efforts than others. That's what I would say.
So is the renter and the owner receiving this notice?
So let's take the example. It's a little bit different depending on what the nuisance is. So let's say there is a nuisance for a big pile of broken furniture, right, in the backyard. We would mail notice to the owner. And if it's occupied by a renter, we would mail notice to the tenant as well, right? We would send it to both. Likewise with the grass, I mean, realistically, we're sending notice to the house, right? And if it's owned, if the house is owned by, we can post it as well. We're allowed to do that. It's the thing about, for example, you take the LLCs, and LLCs do pose kind of an endless headache for code enforcement. But when it comes to giving notice to the property owner, they're on constructive notice that they need to be, contactable, and that these are the ways in which we can give them notice. So if for example, if an LLC owns a property, they're renting it out, the renter never mows the lawn, we go post something on the front door of the house that says, mow your lawn in 5 days, or we're going to do it at your cost, and we're going to attach a special tax bill to your property. We don't really have to send anything else. That owner can't come complain that we didn't ever mail them something, because the statute says if we post it, that's sufficient. And it's, you know, if you're going to own property in this state, you need to be, you know, familiar with the laws governing property ownership in this state. And that includes how the city can notify you that your grass is too long. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, but besides the grass, like over here, we have people who, like my neighbor now has tires in the back of their yard, and I know we cannot go to the back of their yard. What do we, I mean, what can we do about that other than me want to, you know, possibly get beat up for snitching on them or having someone?
So I will say, I don't want to address particular properties, but if you had a, you know, theoretically a property with a bunch of tires in the backyard, if the city, you know, code inspector could view that from, you know, a public place or another place that he has permission to go, and then a letter is sent notifying that person to remove the nuisance, and they don't, then the regular nuisance proceedings would kick in. There'd be a nuisance hearing before the building commissioner. If the building commissioner found that the condition was a nuisance, then an order to abate the nuisance would be issued. And if they didn't, then armed with an administrative search warrant, the city could enter on the property and remove the nuisance. So,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely. I think if there are particular issues that aren't being addressed, as always, we encourage council members to bring things to our attention.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Councilwoman
Okay,
Shivers,
so
I know
have
you had a
we,
question as well.
Yes,
Sure.
I had two situations. One was I had a part of my history was a 128-year-old white oak that I had in the backyard. Well, the city never did say anything to me about it, but it was struck by lightning. And I was so heart-stricken about it. I got bids, and I'm just using this as an example. And the lowest bid I got was $8,900 because the tree was humongous, a beautiful tree. And half of it was dead and half of it wasn't dead, but it was just gradually dying from the lightning. Another situation was I had paid a contractor to, the city was involved in this. Because a lot of people, they like ugliness, and I'm not like that. If I can help you, I'm going to help you at 110%. And that's the way I've always been. But where my garage needed painting, so I had paid a contractor. Everyone isn't able to dig deep and do that. And he ran off with my funds. And so I contacted the Better Business Bureau, the Attorney General, and so forth. So I had to come up with more money because I didn't want a Band-Aid put on it. I wanted the work to be done correctly with new wood and all of that. So it looks outstanding now. But in circumstances like that, how does the city attorney and the city administrator react to such situations that I experience?
You're asking if there's a provision in the code if someone's been taken advantage of to like.
Right, but I'm saying, and because both of those instances were costly to me.
Yeah, is that something that
the insurance company, I didn't even call my insurance company because that old oak tree was an act of God. So it wasn't.
Andy?
I don't want to necessarily speak on to specific issues, right? So I can't speak to your specific issues. I would say though, like for example, if someone has something, let's say that the city mailed somebody a letter and said, hey, you have a dead tree on your property, it needs to come down. And they said, well, I'm getting bids, but they're all way too expensive. I mean, we have had this issue with property owners in the city. And the city can't really do anything about that, right? Because that's what the bids are according to the market, right?
Right.
Now, as far as you know, a contractor taking money and running off, you can report that, right? And I don't mean to you, again, I'm not speaking to your specific situation, but someone who feels that way can, or that they've been, you know, the victim of some sort of fraud or something, can report that. I would say that that particular kind of issue is very difficult to enforce through like the municipal courts, right? So that's it.
Oh, is it?
You
How?
often see that again through people taking that up in like small claims court or things like that. But yeah, I hope that kind of answered your question.
So short answer, there's nothing that we could do or put in the code to address like that particular issue.
Yeah,
No,
that's
I'm talking in reference to a time guide, you know, 5 days, 7 days. It can't be done within that length of time.
Oh, you're saying in C
see. Okay.
C3, you would like the 10 days to be longer for removal of abatement?
In certain instances, yes. Mhm.
I would say to that the way that the practice is now, the code enforcement officer can issue extensions. So the 10 days set out in the ordinance is a minimum. And then the code enforcement officer offers extensions if there is financial hardships, if it's not an immediate health and safety hazard, if it's not, there's no immediate danger, right? And I will say extensions are offered, you know, pretty liberally from the code enforcement officer because, you know, obviously we understand that homeowners, it requires money and things happen.
Mhm.
And, but I wouldn't recommend changing the 10 days because sometimes you have something that you need to take care of
Mhm.
and it needs, and it is really harming the neighbors. And then so just adding time to that just kind of slows everything down. Whereas right now we just kind of use the discretion of the code enforcement officer.
Well, what I'm instigating is everyone can't come up with $12,000 and $14,000.
Well, that's what he was, that's the answer that he gave, that the city, meaning code enforcement, is allowed to provide for extensions.
Right. So can we put that in writing?
Well, that's something that we just do already. It doesn't need to be in writing. It's basically at the discretion of code enforcement. And like Mr. Johnson was saying, there are some things that have to be taken care of immediately, and there are some things we can give grace on. And so that doesn't need to be something that.
And I would also just like to clarify, the discretion is just about the timing and extensions. From your last comment, you're talking about whether the city just lets it go or doesn't declare it a nuisance. I mean, that has nothing to do with the ability of the owner to take care of the nuisance. If it's a nuisance, it's a nuisance. It's just, if it meets the definition, then it is a nuisance. If that makes sense. There's no discretion there, right? Now, obviously, the city can't write up every nuisance at one time. We can't get to we do prioritize. But yeah, we don't get into kind of the owner situation when it comes to that.
And to follow up on what Sam is saying, if there's a particular homeowner who, like, for example, suppose you have a homeowner with a dead tree and that dead tree is dangerous, right? And it could fall and hurt the neighbor's children, right? Or whatever. If that homeowner can't come up with the money to remove that dead tree and the city proceeds after a hearing with due notice to remove that tree, then a tax bill will be attached. And a special tax lien would be attached to the house, and the city would ultimately get paid once the house is sold, for example. So, oftentimes homeowners, they do have equity. It's just tied up in their house, and they essentially pay for it later, right? Is kind of the way you could think about that a little bit. So
Right.
it's there are ways for the city to provide for the public safety without necessarily requiring homeowners to come up with $10,000 cash, right, to pay for something.
One of the things that the Code Enforcement Commission that hasn't met in a couple of months, I've been looking at doing is creating some sort of a guide for people, while the city, I don't think, can really recommend specific people to do jobs, like if you had a job that you needed to do. But as there are a lot of people out here who are trying to rip people off, and they'll take your money, they'll take advantage of you. So what we want to do in that guide is to give people access to agencies that they can go and have help with working through those issues. For example, a lot of people don't know that if you're getting a tree cut down, you can actually apply for financing to cut the tree down, and you can have like a year to pay for it. And but again, if you've got a legitimate tree service that's doing it, a certified arborist, that's different than having somebody come and try to cut it down and say, oh, we'll just do it for you at this cost, and ask for cash up front. So what I want to do is to be able to anticipate problems like you have had, and quite frankly, I have had, to let people know of resources and give them a few tips. So your help on helping to put together those kinds of guidelines would be helpful to everybody, because if you've encountered that, other folks have too, so that we could say, okay, if you don't have all the money, these are some things that you might do.
So can we make move this to January and like discuss this later at a workshop in the interest of time?
Except for a first reading anyway, Mayor. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, because I think code enforcement is going to meet in January, right? Councilwoman Valle?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so like the workshop would be after that.
Yes.
Yeah, so not the January meeting for the second reading, but let's take it to the workshop.
Right.
Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, now that's a commission. That's not a commission, that's a task force. So
yeah, but just so you guys,
anybody,
just so you guys can discuss, yeah.
And for the record, anybody can come to those. We don't record them the same way, so they're pretty open discussions.
Thank you. Number 3, resolution number 24. Am I on number 3?
You're on
No,
two.
I'm on number 2. Sorry. Number 2, resolution -24-61. Can I get a motion for first reading of?
Don't need a first reading. It's just a resolution.
Oh, sorry. A resolution of the City of Normandy adopting a pay plan of the city to include the position of police lieutenant. Is Chief Sanders on, or?
I saw a name.
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Before okay. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Chief Sanders, you want to? Oh, any opposed? Sorry. Oh, Chief Sanders, you want to go?
Sure. When we passed the pay plan previously, there was an omission of the position of lieutenant from the pay plan, and it was an oversight. It doesn't align with the department's general orders that were established under the Missouri Police Chiefs Accreditation Standards. And although it was mistakenly removed from the pay plan, the position has remained a part of the department's organizational structure and requires just formal reinstatement, which is why we're asking for it. This correction has no budgetary impact from the police department's perspective as it relates to our current budget. Reintroducing the position ensures compliance with accreditation standards, and it just reinforces the integrity of our department's leadership framework.
Any questions?
Oh.
And if you look in your packet, the duties and responsibilities for this start at page 7, am I right, Chief?
Yes, ma'am. It's pretty robust.
It's pretty, yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory, and I believe it goes to page 9 if you want to, if you didn't get a chance to look at that part.
Is the pay scale on here?
On the first page, it says what page is that? It says the salary.
Is that page 1? No.
No, it's not page 1. It's the one with the green fer-de-lise. It says City of Normandy job description. It's like 2 pages before page 1. Lieutenant.
For that? Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a grade 10, so it's a $70,262 annually to $79,238 annually. It is a salary exempt position, so it's not hourly.
Oh, here it is.
So that is just the rate. The starting rate would be 70,000.
Okay, I see this. I see this one. Thank you. Okay.
Resolution number 3, resolution number 24-62. A resolution of the City of Normandy authorizing the city administrator to execute a grant agreement with the Missouri State Historic Preservation Office for a creation of City Historic Preservation Plan. Can I get a motion? A motion for resolution number 24-62?
So
I'm sorry,
moved.
can I do a point of order? So did 2461 pass?
No, we didn't. Yeah, we kind of passed. You passed that up, Yolanda.
Wait, I thought I took the vote. I didn't take the vote. Sorry. Oh, sorry.
I thought we did something here.
I'm sorry. Can I get a motion to approve resolution 24-61?
And that's to add the lieutenant.
That's to add the lieutenant. Yes, sorry.
Yeah. So moved.
Can I get a second? Can I get sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. I'm sorry.
Okay, now we're moving on to the next.
Yeah, number 3, resolution -24-62, a resolution of the City of Normandy authorizing the city administrator to execute a grant agreement with the Missouri State Historic Preservation Office for the creation of the City Historic Preservation Plan. And I get a first and a second.
I don't have that.
This one is after the pay plan. It's
I think I got something. What is this?
It's kind of like in blue. Do you see it? It's like in blue.
I'm also sharing it on the screen for anyone who needs to.
You see it, Ms. Karen?
Yeah, I think this one in the paper packet got printed as a separate, is that right?
No, that's it right there.
Yeah.
And then after that, it talks about the grant, and it talks about the description and special conditions, but it's in blue. It's blue and black. Yeah.
Right.
So, and while everyone's kind of flipping through it, I'm looking for it. I'll just kind of briefly explain what this is. So, about this time last year, actually a little over a year ago, the city council passed a resolution at the request of the Historic Preservation Commission supporting a grant application to the State Historic Preservation Office for the creation of a preservation plan. Just like, ultimately these grant funds come from the federal government, and we have seen a lot of delay, which is unusual in the disbursement of these funds. So that grant that you all supported over a year ago has finally been funded, and the State Historic Preservation Office, or SHPO for short, is ready to send those funds out. We do have to sign the grant agreement. So just kind of to briefly go over what this is. I'll just kind of go through, and then Douglas Aiken from the chair of the Historic Preservation Commission is here to also answer any questions. But the purpose of the grant is for Normandy to create a preservation plan and to hire a consultant to help us with that plan. The total cost of the project is budgeted for $24,000, and the grant amount is $14,500. Now, in terms of cash, the city of Normandy is only looking to put up a few $1,000s, most of it being in-kind contributions on behalf of the city of Normandy. However, we do have to put up some cash.
And that amount is, Sam? Can you tell them where to find it on?
Yeah, well, hold on. I'm sorry, I thought it was in there. I'll have to
I
go
think
back
it's
to
in the
the
last
original.
page. It's on the last page. Says grant agreement, scope, purpose, and description. Isn't that it?
Yeah,
It's
that
after this.
$9,000, I believe
Yeah,
that 9,000 is
It's
in
after
as well.
this, though. You gotta, it's like 3 pages after that, what's on the screen.
It is on the
That's right.
application, and
Is it there
I
too?
highlighted it.
Oh, I'm sorry, I got old eyes now, so I can't see. It's also on this part, if anybody.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, so, right. So the cash contribution would be $5,500 for the city of Normandy to pay the contractor. Their in-kind contribution and it's on the very last page for the budget on page 7 of the actual agreement. You do see $3,900 for personnel. That's just service time from city staff and volunteers.
Kiana, can you go sorry, Sam, can you go keep going?
Right there. Yep.
Yeah.
So that 5,500 would actually be the only cash impact to the city budget. Everything else would be in kind. So it would be staff time put towards the project, but it's not cash. But for the purposes of the grant, they consider it a match. So it'd be $5,500 would be our portion, and as a result, we'd have a preservation plan which would help kind of guide preservation activities, identify preservation activities, and help us move towards the goal, and help us do things like establish design guidelines for the village of Glen Echo, establish landmarks in various historic districts. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them, or if you, or maybe Doug can answer some questions if you all have any.
The only thing that I was concerned about was putting like the cost of restoring, you know, the cost of restoration, like having a house that needs to be restored, and then the cost of restoration exceeds the value of the home, I guess. And then like we have potentially vacant homes that sit longer because of the financial restraints. Is that something that I don't know, is Doug still on?
I have a little experience with that. If you're doing state funded or federally funded restoration, and you can use CDBG grants to do historic restoration, and you have to use, in those cases, the contractors who are designated as okay by the county, because the county oversees all of that kind of stuff. But in these circumstances, in historic preservation, all we can do is to look at what the impact is on the neighborhood. So we're talking about the outside of the house. So what you wouldn't want to do is what has happened at least to one of the houses here. There was a fire, there was a major rehab on the house, and the house looks strangely out of place and odd. It wouldn't probably cost those people any more to have kept a certain kind of as a design aesthetic, but there were no guidelines in place. So I think that this historic restoration depends on who's paying for it. We cannot make anybody, for example, use 5-inch gutters instead of 4-inch gutters or 6-inch gutters, or replace copper gutters with copper gutters. That's not what this is about. It is about having some standards for things like setbacks, so they'd be working with planning and zoning and establishing the zoning criteria and sometimes working relationships between this, because it's just establishing our own historic district and the guidelines that the city will follow to do those things. It doesn't have anything to do with the National Historic Registry, which we're already on. Am I right, Doug?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you are.
All right, any other questions? Can I get a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Did I get it? Did everybody vote?
Yes.
So me,
Yeah.
I
I said aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, ayes have it. Number 4, resolution, can I get a motion to, a motion to adopt resolution number 24-63, a motion of the city of Normandy, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to accept bids for tree cleaning and removal of public trees. Can I get a first?
So moved.
Second?
I second.
Sam?
Yeah, so this is our annual tree maintenance list. Beyond Housing helped us with the collective bidding process again this year. And so the lowest and best bidder to submit a bid was Gamma Tree.
Okay.
And this includes 8 removals and 20 prunes. This for a total of $25,410. We are getting a $25,000 grant from Missouri Department of Conservation for this.
Woo-hoo. That's
And
awesome.
so we are on the hook for $410.
Okay.
If you look at the page with the chart, Kiana, can you show the chart? These are all of the homes that we've talked about over it's been like a year, hasn't it?
Yes.
It's been like a year for this. That we added and so on and so forth to the list. So it's a page and a half, I think.
Page and a third.
Yeah, with the cost breakdown.
Yes.
Any questions about this? We beat this to death. Everybody's gone through their ward and looked at trees that need it. And Beyond Housing has come through too. So
When is this gonna start? Cause I'm ready.
So the contract, which is still being finalized, but this resolution gives the authority for us to finalize that, would allow them to start actually like tomorrow. But they do have to finish before spring.
Right. Can they start on Ward 1?
And that was an issue last year. The contractor who was not invited to submit a bid this year was unable to perform. And there was actually, you'll notice there's some repeat prunes from the bid list last year because they had some equipment breakdowns and they didn't complete everything on the list. All the removals got done, but not all the prunes. And Gamma is a bigger company than the company we used last year. I don't think we're going to run into that issue. But we ran in, they had equipment breakdowns and they couldn't finish it before spring. And because we're using grant funds, we have to worry about the, I think it's the Indiana BAT. And
Indiana bat.
Yeah.
There were
Yeah,
like some bats that were,
sorry, Indiana bat, the northern long-eared bat, and the gray bat.
Oh,
If you
boy,
cut
yeah.
down after spring, it is very harmful to those species.
Okay, can they start on Ward 1 first this time?
So, I mean, it is a collective bidding process, so
Oh, okay.
this contractor will be cutting down trees in Hanley Hills to Pine Lawn, Pagedale. So they just have to finish it by the end. So I can't promise you that they're gonna start in Normandy tomorrow, and I can't promise you that they're gonna start in Ward 1 first either.
Okay,
Okay, I got a question.
go ahead, Councilman Nelson.
So definitely, is this with Doug Seeley involved in this also?
Not Doug Seeley, he's no longer with Beyond Housing, but it is the same program that Doug was the director of, the Community Forestry Department at Beyond Housing.
Okay, so we're definitely going to be using the contractors and none of our workers, right?
Yeah, just the contractors.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
I'm happy. Nope.
All in favor? Resolution number 24-63.
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Woo-hoo.
Number 5, a discussion of the suspension of the December 26th City Council workshop meeting. So the December 26th of 2024 is the day after Christmas.
Right.
Do you guys want to come in?
No,
No, I
no.
make a motion that it's canceled.
So we're gonna just go to, what's January 23rd, is that right? Sam?
23rd.
That'll be the next, so our next workshop, just make a note, it will be January 23rd. The last Thursday of the fourth Thursday of the month. Citizen comments.
Who was the second on that motion for the suspension?
Me.
Oh, okay, thank you. Councilman Campbell, there's.
So do I need to vote on this one?
I'm sorry?
Do I need to vote on this one? It's just, we just agreed. No, for number 4, before I go on. For number 5, sorry, the suspension.
Someone made a motion and there was a second. I'm not.
All right, all in favor?
Wait a minute, I made a motion.
I think, yeah,
I
it was
second.
Karen and Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, ayes have it, January 23rd.
Yes.
Citizen comments?
Yes, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Hello, good evening, everyone, and happy holiday season to you all. I just have 2 topics I want to bring up. The first one, I think a good portion of the council is new, and then I think everyone else may be suffering from recency bias. But I want to bring you back to something traumatic. When Mark was elected by the people, many of the council members to stymie him would not come to meetings, or they would come to meetings very late so that they did not have to hear citizen comments and complaints. This stopped the entire council from getting work done, and it hurt the citizens. So that's the reason why this was put in place. Many boards and councils have rules and regulations around attendance. I don't think you can just show up to your job whenever you want to. There's a regulated time to be there. I know traffic happens, but we're all adults and we plan accordingly. We only have this meeting once a month. I say all that to say, to jog your memories if anyone was around on how bad that was. Not having quorums, people coming late. It was just totally disruptive to the entire city. I don't think more than 15 minutes of grace should be granted for someone being late. Again, the meeting is once a month. We all know how to prepare for traffic. Maybe the Zoom option is available, but if we do 30 minutes, that's a huge portion of the meeting being missed. So that was my one thing. My second one was in reference to the ordinances. Since you all now won't be having your workshop until the end of January, I want to also, hopefully somebody can bring this back up. we shouldn't give residents too much grace. I feel like if it's an elderly neighbor that has low income, is on a fixed income, then those conversations can be had. But from talking to Mark previously and seeing what goes on now, some people are given way too much grace, and some people don't get reported for quite some time. So we continue to keep letting people do that. That hurts the residents. I mean, we even have a neighbor who's had an issue with their home for 5 years. That's several different administrations. So if our person only talks to them last month and you continue to give them time, I don't really think that that's fair. We've had neighbors who they didn't cut their grass for a whole summer. They threw out some grease and started a fire in their backyard, and it almost ripped through the neighborhood behind them in Ward 1. So if we're overly lenient, we're going to continue to suffer. And I think the residents are suffering here enough. And it's just, we just really need to be mindful because it affects all of our property values and appraisals that we have done on our home. So there's a bit too much leniency now. We need to kind of tighten up and keep those rules and regulations in place and give grace to either those who are actively making progress or elderly or low income people. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else, Kiana?
I have not received any requests for public comment in the chat. It's up to you if you'd like to ask.
Can I get a motion to adjourn this meeting and open the closed session
I'll make a motion.
for personnel issue?
I'll make a motion.
Need a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call. Roll call.
Oh, sorry. Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Oxenheimer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cleveland,
Yes.
Councilman Evans.
Yes.
Councilwoman Shivers,
Yes.
Councilman Nelson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Campbell,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bayet.
Yes.
All right, that closes the regular meeting. And we're gonna open up
If you'll give me a few minutes just to.
yeah, we need to open up a Zoom for a closed session.
No, I'm going to exit some people out and.
Are you just gonna take them out?
Yes,
and
yes,
then
and I'm
we
gonna stop
we
the
stay?
recording. Yes. Please
Okay.
stay there, yes. Thank you.
Happy holidays, everyone. Be safe. Happy
Thank you.
holidays. Bye-bye now.
Thank you for coming.
Mhm.
She hesitates.
Is City of Normandy Kiana? No, that's the,
I think that's the Zoom account is the one that records.
Oh,
We
okay.
need to turn off the recording. But
that's the one that's recording, City of Normandy.
yeah, but just waiting. One moment.